Welcome to D for Diving's YouTube channel, where today we're going to take, excuse the pun, a deep dive into diving deep.
Have you ever wondered what lies beneath the surface? The ocean is calling. It's a world of wonder, adventure, and pure joy. But diving deep isn't just about the thrill. It's about embracing the unknown with curiosity, confidence, and just a little bit of courage.
Now, first of all, why do people enjoy diving deep? Well, principally because it's there. They enjoy the thrill of the exploration. They enjoy the challenge of pushing one's body and one's boundaries just that little bit further. It's an exciting proposition. Go down to depths that no man has been to before. Well, maybe some men and women. A lot of them, actually. But let's not put that out there. There's something to be said about the way in which the pressure around us makes a feeling of euphoria, makes a feeling of serenity. I know when I'm diving deep, you get down to the 40-meter mark, and everything just seems to be so much slower. Everything seems to be so much more at peace. I really enjoy that nice, chilled, laid-back feeling that you can get. And so there's the serenity that comes down there, seeing the different wildlife and just enjoying that new experience. It's also because it's a challenge. The fact that there are inherently new risks means that there's new things for us to think about. There's new things for us to plan. And it takes just a little bit more grey matter to ensure that we manage our safety. So what are those challenges? Well, those challenges come down to kind of 4 or 5 different factors. The first one, of course, is your equipment. Now, diving to regular depths, and when I say regular depths, I mean recreational depths, which is 30 or 40 meters, 100 or 130 feet if you're in Imperial. And at those depths, we can dive with pretty much standard scuba equipment. But the equipment that we're diving with needs to be familiar to us, because the last thing we want to do is be stressing ourselves out with some new gear when we're 100 feet underwater. But also, as we push those limits a little bit further, we might want to take into consideration redundancy. We might need to take redundant air supply, we might need to take redundant masks, we might even want redundant bladders in our BCD, depending on the depths that we're going to. Because let's not forget, deep isn't only 40 meters. We can go way beyond that depth if we really wanted to. But what about the physics associated with diving deep and the challenges associated with physics? Well, one of the key things is as we dive deeper, Boyle's law kicks in, ambient pressure increases for every 10 meters that we go down. Ambient pressure increases by another atmosphere or another bar for every 10 meters that we go down. And that has a number of factors on us. Number one, our wetsuits will compress and we'll no longer feel as warm as we would do at the surface. But also we won't be as buoyant as we were further up in the water column. As ambient pressure increases, we'll use a lot more gas than we had previously used at the surface. So if I was down at 40 meters, 5 times atmosphere, I would use my gas 5 times quicker than I would do at the surface. That's where gas management, gas planning and redundancy really come into the fore. And then we have a look at physiology. What happens to us as we go deeper and the pressure increases? That has an impact on our airspaces. And so we need to make sure that we can equalize those as we're going down. But also as we go deeper and deeper, we're absorbing more and more nitrogen, which means that we're getting closer to that no decompression limit for recreational diving, or we're going to go past it and have a decompression obligation if we're looking at technical diving. But before we hit our NDL, we're likely to experience another nitrogen-related issue, narcosis. Now, what is nitrogen narcosis? It is a neurological response to the high exposure of nitrogen, and it creates a narcotic effect in the same way as alcohol does. We get a little bit drunk down there on gas. The great thing about nitrogen narcosis is that if we want to eliminate the effect of it, we come shallower and we don't have a hangover. But narcosis is an issue. We don't particularly want to be down at depth, let's say 30 to 40 meters, 100 to 130 feet, and having to make decisions. Because we all know from a Saturday night, when we're drunk, those ain't the best decisions we make. And so we want to make sure that we know that narcosis is coming, we know what to expect and experience from narcosis, but also that we plan to ensure we don't have to make any decisions. We've made the plan, we have a look at the plan and implement the plan we already made. And that brings me on to planning. So the first thing we've got when we think about planning is not only are we planning for the depth we're going to and the duration that we're going to be there, we're going to plan redundancy. We're going to bring additional gas supply, whether that's air or any of the other gases we might want to bring, whether that's going to be as a pony bottle or a drop tank or a stage bottle, new technical terms. But we need to have that plan. We're also going to have a plan on what do we do in the event that something goes wrong. And we can list out those things that could go wrong, write the plan on a risk slate. And so in the event that we exceed our NDL, we go too deep, we have a gas supply problem, we can flip to the slate and go, and that's the plan. That's what we said we're going to do. And it comes back to those magical words that we often hear within the technical diving circles of plan the dive and dive the plan. There's a reason for it. But of course, the other big challenge is personal growth. As we learn about diving and we learn more and more about the risks and the controls or the mitigations we can put in place to manage those risks, we grow as individuals and we're able to more competently and confidently push our limits those little bit deeper. And so that means that 30 meters feels a lot to somebody who's just doing their advanced open water diver. 40 meters is to somebody with maybe 30 or 40 dives to them. And then the depths go on. 40 meters, 45, 50, 60, 100. You can go a lot deeper with the right plan and the right equipment. But safety is the secret to freedom.
Here's the secret. The more you respect the rules, the more freedom you have to explore. Safety isn't a buzzkill. It's your ticket to dive deeper, stay longer, and enjoy every moment worry-free.
The most important thing if you're contemplating diving deep is training, training, training. Why? Well, as we're going deeper, as we're pushing those limits more, we're going to be assuming a whole raft of new risks. Whether you know those risks exist or not is irrelevant. They're there, and as you dive deeper, you're assuming them. So far better to know what they are and at least have a plan for how to manage them. The first level you're going to come to is your deep adventure dive as part of your advanced open water or advanced adventure diver. This will qualify you down to 100 feet or 30 meters. And it's an important first step. 100 feet, 30 meters, you might start experiencing narcosis for the first time. And so it can be quite an interesting feeling that you're no longer fully compos mentis. But also it's the introduction to the equipment that we might need. We mandate that you're going to need to do a safety stop. You absolutely need to do a safety stop. It's not something you can get away with doing. And so whether you're taking a pony bottle with you or have a drop tank hanging from the boat, they're things to consider and for us to look at. But we also look at some experiments with the 30-meter dive. What happens to our wetsuit's pressure? We might take a piece of neoprene with us and see it crush. We might see a bottle and see it crush. We might add some air to a bottle of water and see what happens as we bring that back to the surface. Lots of different things we can do. Beyond that, we have deeper. And this is taking us to the maximum depth of recreational diving, which is 40 meters or 130 feet. At 40 meters, you almost certainly will start to experience the effect of narcosis. And so one of the tests that we'll do on a 40-meter dive is a simple narc test, an activity that we'll do on the surface and time. We'll do the same activity underwater and time, and you can see the difference. For some people, it's not material. The difference is negligible. For others, they are narked off their face, which is great because I'm there to video it and we can laugh at your expense later. On the deeper dive, we cap it at 40 meters. Why? Well, at 40 meters, you really don't get much of a no decompression limit. And beyond that level, your NDL is gone in an instant. So far better to cap it at a place where it's safe and where we can enjoy a bit of a dive and make our way back shallower safely. But we do still have the option to go deeper still, and deeper still is into the realms of technical diving. And this is where we're going to push past our no decompression limit and introduce decompression obligations. The world becomes much more open to us as we push past those levels, but there's a heck of a lot of training to understand how we can do it safely. Now, one of the things that we may use to help us dive safely is different gases. Up until now, most of you will have learned to dive on air, 21% oxygen, 79% nitrogen, and the stuff that is all around us, just compressed and put in a tank. We might switch to an enriched air nitrox, which will give us more bottom time for a given depth. Now, we have to be careful because there's a trade-off between depth and oxygen toxicity. Yes, there's always a yin-yang. We get to dive longer, but we can't go as deep. And so we have to manage and blend and test our gas to ensure that we're going to the right depths and we're making sure we don't exceed the safe limits for the gas that we're breathing. But we can also reduce the nitrogen levels further by adding helium into the mix and switching to trimix. And as I said, that's now into the realms of technical diving because that brings some other complications. We did a video a couple of weeks ago which is looking at the different gases, which I'll put a link to below, which is looking at nitrox, trimix, heliox, different gases that you breathe when diving. So, in summary, why do people like diving deep? Well, because it's an exhilarating experience that allows you to push your own boundaries. Freaking cool. But it's only that if it's executed safely. Training is essential, particularly with an experienced pro. If you're going to push the boundaries and if you're going to learn new limits, it's best to do it with somebody who knows what they're doing and they've got your back. Levels matter. At 30 meters, we're going to maybe start to encounter narcosis. It's good to know that we do. At 40 meters, you're definitely going to encounter narcosis, and we're coming increasingly close to our no decompression limit.
Well, as you can notice, I think I got narked off my face.
And as we go deeper, we're going to exceed our NDL and go into deco. And so surrounding and governing all of that is the requirement to do good planning and ensure good communication between you and your buddies. We've also identified that safety and redundancy matter. In the event that you have to do a safety stop, it's imperative that you have sufficient gas to be able to do that safety stop. It's also imperative to ensure that you have the equipment that you need to be able to complete the dive in the event you have any equipment failures. But most importantly, go out, dive deep, have a blast, enjoy what's out there.
If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to splash down on the subscribe button, hit like and the little bell icon. That way you'll get notified of any new content as it becomes available. The algorithm will love you, and so too will we.